My name is Taipan Lucero. My art is by buying calligraphy, which I call Calligraphy Filipino. I actually started out as a graphic designer, more on advertising and marketing was my specialty. And after graduating from college, that was actually more of my degree, so advertising, graphic design. After college, we started a small advertising agency, but that fell apart, and I went solo. And one of my clients as a freelance designer was a American businessman in Japan, and he liked my work so much that he had me full time in Kobe, Japan, as a graphic designer in order to understand and to internalize the Japanese design and artistic philosophies. He had me train in Shodo, or Japanese calligraphy. And while I was doing that, I experienced firsthand how the Japanese love and respect their culture. So witnessing and doing all the steps for Shodo, I could see how the Japanese show love and respect to their cultures. Like each and every step of the process to do Shodo, they treated it like an art form, from the way they sat down, from the way they prepared the materials, from the way they breathe. I was very inspired by this, and I thought to myself, why couldn't we do this to our own culture? I know that we have our own writing system, but it wasn't really shown any level of that kind of love and respect. So what I did was I quit my job in Japan and then went back to the Philippines and tried to apply what I learned with Shodo to our own writing system. One of the main things that I learned was that there are so many different scripts as well in the Philippines. Not just the main script that I use is Baybayin, because it said that it's made for the Tagalog language, which I speak. But around the Philippines, there are, I guess it is paired to the languages in the Philippines. So for example, in Pampanga, they have Kapampangan, which is their language, and it's paired with Kulitan. It's called Kulitan, their script. And also in the Visayas, it's called Badlit, their writing system. Although the characters visually, they look similar, but for specific language, like for Kulitan, the rules for the writing itself is very different from Baybayin because it matches the language of Kapampangan. So, for example, the stresses for the accents, they have completely different rules and it's very complicated as well. So, that's, I guess, the most significant takeaway that I learned from learning and writing scripts in the Philippines. So, they are very diverse, very different. So, basically, just self research through the internet and attending lots of conferences and festivals for culture and art. So mostly they have been my art has been well received, if I may say, because my first project was the exhibition at the NCCA in Intramuros, and the embassy of Iran reached out and they wanted to do several collaborations because, as we know, in the Middle East or in the Islamic faith, calligraphy is a big part of their culture because they use calligraphy to honor their faith, their religion. So that was one of the most significant collaborations for my art up to now. And in 2022, I did a tour in the US wherein I spoke and showcased my art to a lot of Filipino Americans and, of course, Americans as well. And I was surprised that they were also very receptive towards it because I think Filipino Americans are very open to know more about their heritage, know more about their history, their roots in the Philippines, so what culture is truly theirs. So I was, I guess, received well in the US for Filipino Americans because I think they are very hungry to know more about their history, their heritage, their history. So yeah, that. Mainly art style is divided into two. So first would be the more graphic style designs, and then the second would be the actual handwritten. So that's more the actual calligraphy. So the designs that I choose for both styles, I am inspired by Filipino culture basically. So right now, my works, I do a lot of like circular design style. Most people that see it call it the mandala style, but I try to use kulintang as a describing word. So if you know the kulintang, it is a gong, a brass gong, which has a radial pattern on top. So that's what I try to call it. Pero most people know it as a mandala. But I try to, frame it as a Filipino cultural icon or cultural thing. For the more colorful things, I use other elements. Like for example, there's this thing called the okir. It's a colorful curvilinear design motif used in mostly architecture in Mindanao. So si national artist Abdul Mari Imaw. So I think medyo ganun yung ano niya, yung artworks niya, very colorful, tas mga curvilinear, tas yung sari manok motif parang ganun. So medyo parang ganyan, like the tails or the feathers of the sari manok. And for this, like inspired by the linglingo of the Cordilleras, the Ifugao, the Igorot. So basically, I take inspiration from Filipino culture, and I try to form my calligraphy into those form. Also the colors as well, like that. Yeah, yung kulintang, diba? Brass, it's gold. So I try to use gold as well. Ganun. Yes, I think definitely, especially in the Philippines, the different regions have their own distinct style of art. Going to Luzon, North Luzon. I used to spend a lot of time in Baguio. So the Cordilleran art form, you have the bulul, you have the linglingo again, in its own, has a very diverse, different kinds of art. And then go to the Visayas and then Mindanao. So any and all types of art. We have the crafts, we have the visual art, you have sculptures, stuff like that. So I think, if you go through all the regions in the Philippines, you can find so many different art forms. So I think it really lends to a strong tourism. Back in 2021, we had a collaboration with the DOT in the Cordilleras for a street art festival with music and street performances. So we had an entire street in Baguio City wherein we painted murals, so depicting everyday life in Baguio and our own personal take on what could be considered Cordilleran art. In that way, we directly interacted or was supported by the DOT in that project itself. I think DOT helps a lot, especially with those kinds of projects. We wanted to bring that to many other streets in the Philippines because our goal then was to make public spaces safer and more, I guess, more tourist friendly. That street was actually an esquinita, which was very dark and kind of shady to go through. But our goal was to make it more vibrant, more tourist friendly. So when people pass by, it's not as again shady, I guess. We wanted to do that to many other places, not just that specific street in Baguio. In that case, I guess DOT had a direct relation to our art project then. As of now, I am creating 4 new artworks for MoCAF this year. Mostly more on the Kulintang style because that's what I am trying to focus on, trying to refine as of now. And I think aesthetically it's the most pleasing in my opinion. So yeah, expect new art pieces and other very exciting artists to see.